Okay. Good evening. Please go ahead and state your name for the people.
I am Michael Carter. I don't know
Speak
his
loud.
name. Michael Carter.
How do you feel about DNA testing? Do you think it should be mandatory at birth or no?
Yeah, I think it should be mandatory outside of marriage. I think you should definitely be mandatory. Even within marriage, it should be mandatory because the state requires DNA testing before you are required to pay child support. So why shouldn't you be guaranteed, to know that you are responsible for the child before you're financially responsible for the child?
You said the state, it's mandatory, or did you say the states require it?
Yeah, so before you can be placed on child support, you have to take a paternity test, and therefore you have a financial obligation to the child, but it does not guarantee you parental rights to that child, just financial obligation.
Okay, but a lot of men don't show up for court, so then what happens? They don't show up for the DNA test, so then what? They're automatically by default the father?
No, they'll garnish your wages, they'll levy your accounts, they'll suspend your license until they fine you. If they don't fine you, then you don't pay, but you do have to submit to the testing. It's required. It's not a choice.
How many children do you have?
I have 3 boys.
3 boys. Same mom?
No, all different moms.
All different moms. Do you have, not to say child support issues, but how has it been working with the 3 moms and like co-parenting and everything?
I pay child support. My
For
oldest
all 3?
son. No, just my oldest son. My oldest son is like 22 years old.
Okay.
My second son is 16, and then my baby boy is 4. So only with the oldest child, I had the obligation to pay child support, which is a long story.
Do you want to delve into that story a little bit? Just give the people this a sample, because basically what this is about is me bringing awareness, and I'm trying to give men, I'm trying to encourage men to go to court and show up for their child instead of just, they just pay child support and they never see their child and they're bitter and they have the back and forth with their child's mom. So you don't have to give me everything, but can you tell me a little bit about what's going on between you and your child's mom?
My oldest son was born when I was about 16 years old. His mom is much older than I. And I wasn't completely sure when she had him that he was my child. And then I didn't really find out for sure. I didn't submit my paternity results until after I finished college. So I graduated from Florida A&M University. And once I graduated, I came home and all the bill was going to my permanent address. So like my license had been suspended already. I had missed like several court dates already. So everything was already in the process when I got to submit my DNA. Actually, I was still a minor. My mom had me, not a minor at that time, I was like 24. But my mom had me on her account as a beneficiary. And because my social security number was attached to the account, they levied the accounts, and that's how we found out about the child support order.
Wow.
And then so I don't have a bitterness towards her for child support, because I feel like you would have had to pay for a child anyway. I've raised 2 other boys, so I know how much children cost. Child support is not that much. I think the enforcement of child support is the issue, how they go about enforcing it. And I feel like it's a means to kind of cripple the community, not just black community, because it happens to other people, but especially the black community, along with Section 8, HUD, cash assistance.
Yes.
Any kind of government assistance requires you to remove a man from the house. So I think child support along the lines does that as well, and I think that's why you shouldn't just quit, because you're going to be financially responsible whether you're there or not. I think you should still be there.
Okay. I think it's beautiful that you don't have a bitterness toward her, though. However, do you feel like she could have done a better job at communicating with you so that you didn't have to come home to see your license suspended and all these things?
I think maybe the situation was estranged. So when we broke up, we stopped talking. She was still maybe like 6-7 months pregnant when we broke up. I graduated high school, and then I left and went to college. I went to school in Texas before I went back to and graduated from Florida A&M. So I don't think I think you could always communicate better, but I don't blame her. It's not her fault that I wasn't aware. At the time of birth, however, she did not and tell me when she was going into labor, so I didn't have the opportunity to be there to sign the birth certificate at all. So I think that's something that she may have done differently. But hindsight is 20/20, so I don't know. I wonder how she feels about it.
Regarding the father not being in the household, how do you think it affects the children when the father's not in the household? And it's not even speaking from just your experience, but anyone's experience. How you notice how you said with Section 8, anything to get the father out of the household. How do you think that affects the children?
So we don't know if the book is real or not, but what is it called? I don't think of it. It's about slavery, Jim Crow. What's the name of this book? Anyway, it's discussed in the book. So basically, in the book, something letter. I can't remember the name of it. I'll remember it in a minute. But in the letter or the dialogue, it basically speaks about how to cripple the slave without having to physically beat it. So what they would do is they would take the male slave, the father, away from the female slave, and they would sell him off to another, slave owner, another place. And they would leave the woman to raise the child. If the child was a male child, she would coddle the child. She would protect it because the man that she had was taken away. So she'll always hold on to that man and secure that man to make sure that no one would take that man away. But on the back end, what she would do is not teach him to be independent. He would never stand on his own. He would never be far away from his mom because she would always have that fear that something would happen to him. Vice versa with a female child. If you take a male away from a female child, or a female slave is what they were talking about at the time, she would teach that female slave, the girl, to live without a man. So because she was surviving without a man, she would then teach her daughter how to survive without a man around, not out of spite, but more so because in the event that the same thing happened to her daughter, she wanted her daughter to be able to sustain herself. So it created like a systemic type of deal. The Willie Lynch Letters is the name of the book. So it created, now you only had to do this for one generation. Once you broke the first generation, the next woman, the girl child in that family would automatically do this without you having to take the man away from her. So then she would begin to not see the need for a man, and she would do the same thing. You would repeat the cycle over and over again. So systemically, I believe it's been programmed into a lot of Americans. I don't think it's just black people. I think we definitely were more affected by it. But in America, I don't think it's about black and white. It's more about the haves and have not, who's in power and who's not. So I don't think they were really, well, I know they were trying to kill us, but I think it poured over into more of society, and it kind of trickled down, and that's why we have the child support system the way it is now. Try to bring it back.
Okay, is there anything that you want to say that I have not asked you, anything that you want to share, or any last notes?
I think it's more valuable to be around your children. Children are not a burden, I would say. Children require you to be responsible for more than yourself. Responsible to a degree that requires you to kind of put yourself to the side and put somebody else before you, which is not a natural thing. Self-preservation is natural. But I think they come with a lot more benefits and blessings than any kind of detriment to your lifestyle or to anything that you're missing out on. So I think even if you do have a tumultuous relationship with the mom and the child, she doesn't make it easy, or she makes it difficult. I do think that you should do everything within your power and within your sanity. Don't go crazy. To be in your child's life though, and build some type of relationship, however that may be. It may be early on. If you miss out on early years, it's never too late to start later. But even if your children are older now, because I don't have a relationship with my oldest son. I've never seen him before, actually. Just paid child support. But if he ever reached out to me, I wouldn't portray his mom in a bad light. That's behind him. That has nothing to do with him. What's more important is to build a relationship going forward. And he has siblings that he should meet, and he has family that he should know, and things he should learn about himself that he doesn't know why he is the way he is simply because he's my son. So I just want to encourage you all to do what's right. Do what's best over what you feel in the moment. Don't make a long-term decision over temporary long-term decision over temporary feelings.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay.